So we're going to go in a little bit more depth here and just focus on how my agency, how I think about SEO, how we accomplish SEO. So the first thing I wanted to cover is if you're significantly below the first page, if you're on the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th page of results, then your rank position is really going to be how good are your backlinks, how good is your on-page, your content, load speed, all of these things that Google looks at, and how good is your overall site authority. That's going to be measured by a site-wide metric like the domain rating from Ahrefs or the domain authority from Moz. Okay, but if you're on the first page or the second page with a high search volume keyword, then your rank position is really just going to be user experience with a little bit of impact from site authority. So these are important to keep in mind, right? Backlinks and content get you to the first page. Once you're there, user experience is what's going to keep you there. So the example I want to show you, this is a little old, but it's still accurate. We have the number of referring domains and the Google rank position, where 1, of course, is first and 10 is the last on the first page. So clearly, if we sort the rank position versus the number of referring domains, more referring domains typically are pointing to the higher ranked websites. But that being said, quality is more important than quantity. We don't want to go out and just get a whole thousands and thousands of very low quality backlinks. We want to focus on getting quality links. Okay. Now we know based on a correlation of Ahrefs UR and Google rank position. So Ahrefs UR stands for URL rating. It's a metric that measures the strength of your backlink profile to any URL that you enter. Okay. So if we trend and do a statistical analysis versus Ahrefs UR and Google rank position, we get a correlation of about 50%. So that tells us a few things. Most importantly, that we estimate backlink strength represents 50% of rank position. So yes, backlinks are very important. So the number of referring domains is more important than the number of backlinks. If you get multiple links from the same domain, that's less valuable than multiple links from separate domains. Relevance can be helpful, but not super necessary as long as it's a quality link. Okay, again, don't get a bunch of crappy links. That's not going to help you. So from an on-page perspective, the question is, right, did you write your content in such a way that Google understands what you're writing about? Google cannot read. So you have to write for its algorithm to make sure Google knows what you're writing about, to make sure Google knows what your target keyword is. And using images, using responsive design, fast loading times, these are all important for on-page. I have a lot of examples. Images are harder to put on, they take time, but if you create a ton of pages with content but no images, they're not going to rank, right? Images help things rank because Google knows pages with no images don't do very well for user experience. So it's not going to rank something that won't do well from a user experience standpoint. Age is also an important factor. This data is, of course, from Ahrefs, and the older something is, the better it's doing in Google position. This is quite old, right? So this is 3 years old is the average age of a #1 spot on Google. Now, if you're younger than a year, you can rank on the first page, but not many of them do. Look at these percentages. So 4% of URLs in position 10 are less than a year old. So, and the sum of all of these is maybe 20-25%. So it's not a huge percentage of pages that are ranking in the top 10 that are younger than a year. So that's one of the things when we're out there looking for SEO clients, trying to get SEO clients, we want to show quick results. Showing quick results is a good way to keep a client on for longer. The challenge with quick results is generally it's going to need to be an older site. Okay, a brand new site, a brand new domain that we just registered, that we just created, it's going to be really, really hard to get that site to the first page in less than a year. Most clients won't wait a year if they're not getting traffic from an SEO engagement. We'll talk about that more later. But what that feeds into is when we're looking at a new client, we really have two approaches for how we manage that SEO, right? If the client has an established site or if it's not an established site. So an established site, when I say established site, what I mean is they're getting traffic, okay? They're getting traffic, they're ranked on or near the first page for non-branded content. And I'll make that clear, for non-branded searches, okay? Any fool can rank a website for branded search terms. So we care about sites that are getting traffic for non-branded search terms. That's going to be considered established. So then what we're going to do is we're going to leverage their existing content and authority by improving the topical relevance that they have. We're going to look for URLs that are almost on the first page for big search terms, and we're going to use ChatGPT to add relevancy. We call this low-hanging fruit. It means that we can deliver traffic spikes to a new client with an established site in weeks, okay? And we'll cover in more detail exactly what we do and how we do this low-hanging fruit method. Now, a non-established site, that basically means they're not really ranking for anything. Maybe they're ranking for some branded searches, but that's it. And it doesn't matter if they have a lot of links, if they have a lot of content, that it does not factor into this. The only thing that we're looking at, established versus non-established, is whether or not they're ranking, whether or not they're getting traffic for non-branded searches. So what we do in the case of a not established site, a site not getting traffic, is we're going to develop a content strategy that's focused on building topical relevance for the keywords they want to rank for, okay? And when we're looking for those keywords, we're going to pay attention to the current set of top 10 results. And if everyone in the top 10 is domain rating of 80 or above, we're not going to try that keyword. We're going to go for a different we're going to go for a different keyword because we're not going to be able to rank a non-established site on the first page where everyone else has a domain rating of 80 or 90. Okay? And again, we're going to cover these in more detail. This is just a brief overview of how we manage new SEO engagements.